Shabbat Shalom, everybody. This is Rabbi Stephen, Rav Shmuel, with you with this week's 10-minute Torah. Hope you're doing well, as always. So, question. When we face our life's challenges, is there a spiritual or metaphysical component to our challenges, as well as the physical component? So, what do we mean by that? Of course, if you're driving on the road and you have a flat tire, yes, that's a challenge. Uh, but there isn't really much to think about other than I got to get into my car, I got to get my spare, I got to jack the car up, take off the lug nuts, and replace the tire. Right? That's it. But if we're having life's decisions as we go through life, there's always these challenges, these changes, either in our location, in our job, people with whom we're associating, things like that. And naturally, when we make the decisions, we're of course examining the advantages and disadvantages on a physical, material, secular level. But there's also a spiritual, metaphysical, if you will, component to it as well. Let's talk about what Jacob's going through right now. So Jacob has just finished 20 years of service to Laban, his father-in-law, and his uncle. And he's done. He's basically tired of working for a man who has, in Jacob's words, changed their agreement dozens of times, uh, and he's gone. And he's got a family anyway. He's got his two wives, Leah and Rachel, their handmaids, with whom he's also fathered or sired children, Bilhah and Zilpah. And plus the 11 kids, and one is born on the way, Benjamin, plus the daughter Dinah, who, by the way, gets into some major trouble here. And we'll talk about that in a minute as well. Again, there's a lot of challenges here. Jacob's life has not been easy. He's getting everything thrown at him. Whatever most people take for granted, he's dealing with. So he's gone. He's going to go back to Canaan to be in the land that his father Isaac is at, a land that ostensibly God has promised him. So he also knows that he's going to pass through Edom, which is the domain of his estranged brother Esau. Esau finds out that Jacob and his family are passing through, and Esau has kind of prepared a little welcoming ceremony for him, a welcoming reception that includes 400 of his men. So here we have two brothers that apparently have both done very well. Jacob has two wives, including Bilhah and Zilpah, four. He's got 11 children, 11 sons and one daughter. He has manservants and maidservants, aside from the nurses Bilhah and Zilpah, the shafkatot. And he's got plenty of livestock and ostensibly some maybe gold, silver, some other jewelry, who knows. Esau, to be able to have 400 men with him, obviously has done well himself. So Jacob, of course, is concerned, and rightly so. Does Esau still bear a grudge? He's thinking, well, Esau wouldn't dare take revenge on me while our father Isaac is alive, but yet, who knows? So Jacob is formulating this plan. He is going to pray. We Jews pray. We have prayers for everything, don't we? But the difference between we Jews, or let me just phrase it a little differently. We Jews do not only rely on prayer, and we do not rely on miracles. Some of you, you're driving on the road, you see a car, it's got a bumper sticker, expect a miracle. That's not a Jewish person. We don't expect things to just kind of happen because, after all, what do we do as Jews? We have these commandments that we have to follow. And what happens to us in life, according to the sages, is based on whether or not we actually have to, what we do. Okay, sorry for the interruption, folks. It happens. The wife calls and you got to drop everything and take the call, right? Or the husband in whatever case. Okay, so Jacob has made his preparations. And again, we Jews do not rely only on miracles and prayers. We take action. The commandments, right, are calls to action, all of them, right? All 613. So Jacob goes to sleep that night and he has a dream, more like a prophecy, really, because he's wrestling with, quote unquote, a man. Now, who is that man? The sages say, yes, it was an angel, described as a man because the angel was probably in the form of a man. Angels of wings, they don't bend their knees, but in order to have an equal fight, an equal struggle, if you will, then he has to be fighting a man. In the same way that when Abraham was being a host to three men, they were actually angels in disguise as humans. So Jacob is having this struggle, and the struggle is representing the struggle he's having in life. Because the sages say that this wasn't just a run of the mill angel, this was the protective angel of Esau. It has been said that each one of the ancient 70 nations had their own protecting angel. This is so one of the reasons is that nobody could say, well, Israel had an unfair advantage because we were under the watchful eye of God. So at least God gave him angels to watch over them. So as Jacob was prevailing, the angel grabbed his hip socket and he dislocated his hip. And interestingly enough, when Jacob woke, he was limping, right? So it wasn't just a dream, it was almost like another realm. Think of it that way, that he was in. So the struggle really reflected the struggle he was having with his brother Esau, or would have had with his brother Esau in trying to prepare. The struggle he was having in his dream slash prophecy reflected the struggle, the challenge he was having in real life. So think about this. A lot of our major decisions, do they reflect our own morality, our own integrity, our own spiritual self? When people are planning out their life and they're going and they're in school and they're making plans for what they're going to do to support themselves, many people just take a job. Some people plan a career. The difference between a job is I'm going to go to this place for 8, 9 hours with an hour lunch. I'm going to work for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and at the end of a certain period of time, week, 2 weeks, bi-monthly, every month, they're going to give me money for my services. And with that money, maybe I'll put some away for retirement, et cetera, et cetera. Some people go off and have a career. Well, I love working with people, so I'm going to be a psychologist. Or, I love the idea of fixing people, so I'm going to be a doctor. Or some people say, I'm very mechanically inclined. I'm going to be a plumber or a carpenter or lots of things. Even, and I will submit to you that even somebody who takes a job, they're not going to take any old job. They're going to find something that they like to do. You're spending most of your waking time doing it, so why not do something you're going to enjoy and something that you'll excel at? Because when you excel at something, you progress in that job, more status, more money, better conditions, whatever it is. So those career decisions reflect who we are as people. We're expressing ourselves in one way or another, some more than others. Some people become writers because they have this overwhelming desire to communicate with people, right? So that's kind of the way it is. Um, some people too with their families. When you pick a partner for your life, you're trying to find somebody that will reflect your values, your morality, somebody who likes the same TV shows, somebody who reflects your own personal feelings about things, maybe political views, maybe religious views, whatever it is. So there's always different components to our life's challenge. And here we see this very life changing situation of Jacob being reflected in his relationship to God, right? Because he's about to meet who he thinks is an adversary and he needs to be prepared. And he's going to put himself up. He's going to tell his family, he's going to divide his family out. So, God forbid, or heaven forbid, something happens to part of his family, at least the other one gets away. Sort of as, I don't want to, sort of as a diversion, okay? So he approaches Esau, and lo and behold, Esau sees him, and it's kind of like all is forgiven. Esau has benefited too. He's profited too. He's got 400 men, but Jacob has all these gifts. I've got all these camels, gold, these livestock. And Esau's like, I've had it. I have enough. Don't worry. And Jacob's like, well, I insist. And Esau's like, well, if you insist. Again, the way they bargained in the Middle East back then. And they part friends. They part companies. And the next time they get together is at their father's funeral. So while Esau seems to have had a change of heart, and there's a word there where there's dots over it that says, maybe he was sincere, maybe he wasn't. At least things worked out in the end. At least there's peace between the brothers. There's another moral here too, and I'll leave you with this. Relationship difficulties can be worked out. These two were at each other's odds. They were opposite personalities, and yet in the end, they were brothers. Shabbat Shalom.